Welcome, FPL Surgery listeners, to episode 223. My name's Rich, and today it's 31st of August. It's the start of the international break, and as always, I'm here with Dave. Hi there, Dave.
How's it going, man? Lucky to be here on a Tuesday and not a Monday. We were this close to missing this week, but someone just had to have a bank holiday, didn't they? So, well, we're good.
Do you not have one in Scotland?
I don't know. I don't really pay attention. All I know is that you were unavailable on every bank holiday Monday or something.
You actually get an extra bank holiday in Scotland.
Oh, there we go. Not in my work, but yeah, no, I'm happy to be here. I'm glad we're doing this because even though it's international break, there's so much to talk about today. It's such a good day to be streaming. So we have so much to talk about. And to be honest, I thought it was going to be a bit more diverse, but why would it even need to be? First headline, Ronaldo. Second headline, when to wildcard. Third headline, building a wildcard team is happening. So yeah, a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, nice and straightforward today. And this week's guest, he's a legend in the FPL community with almost 100,000 followers on Twitter now. He's got 3 top 5K finishes. One of those was last season. And in his spare time, he publishes FPLHints magazine and he hosts FPLHints Live. So welcome back to the podcast, Ash, aka FPLHints. Hi there, Ash. How are you?
Hi, guys. Doing fabulous. Thank you very much. How's it going?
Yeah, good. It's nice to have you on. I know you were on a few years ago now, long before me or Dave were even on here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was about 5 years ago, and I had it was a bit of an infamous night because I didn't charge my mobile phone, and during the podcast my phone died, and they rolled with it. So I've got a confession to make. I didn't even charge my phone this time. But hopefully, with modern technology now, it should keep me going for an hour and a half. So yeah, it's all good.
All right.
Okay, so yeah, there's no pressure then. There's no pressure. I'm sure it'll be fine. But
That's
no,
amazing.
thank you for coming on. And I know you're having a brilliant season like you did last year. But I mean, do you want to tell us a bit more about FPLHints Live?
Yeah, sure. So, well, FPLHints Live actually originates from FPL Live. So that's a show that I co-founded, 5 years ago now, 6 years ago even. And the purpose of that show was to broadcast live on the eve of a game week. So the chances are you've listened to all your podcasts, you've heard the press conferences, and if you're still undecided on your transfers, we were there to nip in with some extra insight. So that was the purpose of that show. And then due to tech issues, we had to just finish it, unfortunately. But then again, talking of technology and Twitter Spaces, I've found a new niche to revitalize the show in the form of FPLHints Live. So yeah, every night before a game week, I'm on there with anyone else that wants to join. It's an open Q&A session. You can ask whatever you want beforehand or on the show. So it's just been really good fun. Starting it with a few pilots during pre-season, and it really took off over the last 1 or 2 weeks. So yeah, really proud of that, and hopefully it grows from strength to strength.
Yeah, those Twitter Spaces, they are a lot of fun, and like you say, it is a bit of a niche. Especially, and I imagine you're going to have a lot of listeners at the end of this game week because it's going to be a long game week.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at my FPL Twitter timeline today, it's the international break when certain topics come to the fore. But yeah, it's a lot. I can't believe how many days we've still got left. So, there'll be plenty of talking points, no doubt about it, with this transfer window and all sorts that will take place, I guess, in the next, 1.5 weeks.
Yeah, the best thing about doing this live as well, for those that are just listening, is that the chat are probably going to update as if anyone gets bought into the Premier League. Like, it's already getting close to that point in time now where we're getting to the end of the transfer window, and there's definitely going to be some stuff happening while we're talking. No doubt about it. So I'm looking forward to, because sometimes it's like, oh, he scored, but now it's gonna be like, oh yeah, no, Ronaldo moved. So that's amazing. And before we get into all the amazing stuff, thank you very much for everyone being here that is in the live chat just now. A lot of familiar faces, a lot of people that we see regularly. It's really awesome. Thank you if you're listening on any podcast format. We also really appreciate you guys, and it's going really strong. I expected a massive dip when I started because I wasn't the people who you're used to listening to, but it's really nice to see that we're still kind of keeping our head above water with the numbers. Even more so, it's kind of gaining traction. So that's awesome. Thank you very much. And if you are new here, it'd be great if you could subscribe so we can get to 1,000 subscribers, because we just found out that if we get to 1,000 subscribers, we can use polls, which I didn't know was even a thing. I thought it was only a Twitch thing, but we've seen Holly do it today and we want it. So that's going to be awesome as well. Rich, any interesting stats from the week?
Yeah, I mean, you've helped prepare some of these. So obviously we're sponsored by Fantasy Football Hub. And if you'd like to sign up, the link's in the description, whether you're on podcast or whether you're watching on YouTube. So some stats from this week. So Watford had exactly 0 big chances created against Spurs. And despite this, Sarr was the furthest forward on average. So I don't know if that says a lot about Spurs or if it just says more about Watford's attacking output. The Man United player with the highest XA in Game Week 3 was Daniel James with 0.42. He's now gone to Leeds, though. Chelsea had 6 shots in total and 6 were inside the box, so none outside the box. Calvert-Lewin only had 1 shot on target. That was the penalty. I think the most important takeaway from this week, well, it's not the most important, but I found it the most interesting, was that Ward-Prowse had 5 shots and took a penalty. And I think I found that interesting because obviously we didn't know if Armstrong was going to be on penalties. Now we know Ward-Prowse is on penalties, and he tends to be a 90-minute man. So I think he might come into consideration in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, and I've got on the screen the stats that you were just talking about there with Ward-Prowse. There's his 5 shots and the Calvert-Lewin 1 shot on target, which is crazy. But also I liked the 2 ex-Celtic players there in the top, Pukki and Elyounoussi. Love that. So that's really fun for me. But yeah, some interesting stats there. So what's next? What are we up to?
We're going to go into our game weeks. And we're going to start with you, Ash. Now, obviously, you've had a good start to the season after a very, very impressive season last year as well. So, Ash, you want to talk us through your game week?
Yeah, so like this game week ended up on a red arrow, but as I've mentioned time and time again, red and green arrows don't mean much to me. I've ended the game week on 79k overall, which, if I'm not mistaken, that's probably a better rank than I was this time last season. So, yeah, from my perspective, I had 2 free transfers at hand, and I had to use one. And with Robertson back, it made sense to get rid of Tsimikas. And again, in the 4.0, 4.1 market, there aren't very many options, unfortunately. So, like a lot of people, I opted for Livramento as my transfer for last week. Again, hoping he could have got something. Yeah. Wasn't really expecting much, but how I see it with him, especially, he clearly seems to have caught Hassan Hüttl's eye, and 3 starts already, and okay, he's got a couple of tricky games coming up. But then you look at his fixture run from game week 8 to game week 12, so he's got a better run of games there. So how I see it with Livramento is, if he starts and the fixture's good, well, I'm gonna start him in my team, but I need to get as many enablers as possible, because as we know, we are now blessed or cursed with so many premiums in the game right now. So yeah, just it made a logical step to get another 4.1 player. I was really happy that Gundogan finally scored on. I
was literally just about to say that there. That it's really well done that you kept Gundogan, because not many people did, Rich? Not many people did.
Yeah, but did you ever consider selling Gundogan, or was it going to be a keep?
The thing is, the old Ash of 2 seasons ago, I probably would have done like a -8 on a Saturday night and got rid of him. But the new Ash from last season, the mindset has changed in the sense that I picked those players for a reason. And yeah, I know that he didn't get fancy returns in the first 2 games. But then I thought to myself, hold on a minute. KDB isn't there. He's not fully fit. It's Arsenal, who've been atrocious in the first 2 games. Do I really need to get rid of him? Yeah, again, I had 2 free transfers. I could have easily have got someone else. Mason Greenwood was probably out of my budget at that point. But I thought to myself, you know what? I'm happy to hang on to him. For me, it made sense keeping him for 1 more week and then having 2 free transfers after the international break. And that's the situation I'm in right now. Was
really
I
well
expecting...
done there as well, because a lot of people just decided to use their free transfers. Like I used both of mine. Rich used more than he had, and you've got there two just sitting there ready for one of the harder game weeks to kind of manage. What were you going to say?
I think like Ash says there, I think for his circumstances, it maybe was easier to keep Gundogan. Maybe. I mean, I'll get onto why I sold him when it's my turn. Can I just say something, Ash? With your bench, I think you've got Cody and you've got Ben White, and they've got incredible fixtures. So you've done quite well there, where you've got players that people will want in those cheap positions, for the upcoming weeks, and then I guess you can concentrate on the premiums, like you mentioned.
Exactly. Like from my side, again, it comes back to what my mindset is in terms of this season. Look, I was very fortunate to get a top 5k finish last season. I want another. Well, if I could get a top 5k, it'd be fantastic. I want to embrace a top 10k mindset. Like I waited 9 years for that such a high finish, right? And for me, it was about being lucky, no doubt about it. But it was also adopting certain techniques that many consistent top 10k finishers have. So, like for me, planning is so important, right? Like, you've just pointed out, I've got Connor Cody, I've got Ben White on my bench right now. Many people wouldn't have even touched them with a barge pole or game week 1 because they thought, oh, what's the point? They've got some hard fixtures. But for me, it was relying on my core team for the initial game weeks. And like you've said, with Cody and White, let's hope White will strengthen Arsenal's defence. And, Wolves have been quite, despite the results, they've actually punched above their weight and they're showing some promise. So, I've got those two players to, as and when I need to from game week 4 onwards. So, and I've got Scarlett sub 3. I wish I could get rid of him at some point. But it's all about the premiums now. And it's about making the moves that I need to without taking unnecessary hits. And it's about being, and it's about getting the captaincy spot on with EO in mind. That's what my mindset is, really. Yeah.
So there we go. And that's sorry, go continue.
And I was going to say that, like, the way I'm playing the game now, it's actually, I'm not playing it by my instinct. I want to make more transfers. I want to take more risks, but I'm doing the complete opposite based upon this philosophy that I've adopted and I've seen many top 10k managers have. So I'm just playing the game how I think it should be played rather than how I want to play it. And that's a distinction I've made, and I'm happy to make that.
Fair play. I'm really impressed with it, because this team, a lot of people are trying to get to this team, like have a Wolves guy, have a Livermento, and be able to then get to the point where they can do the easy Ings and Bruno out if that's what you decide to do, for example. But we'll get to all that and what we're going to be doing later on. Very quickly, my team, I brought in Rafinha and Antonio, just very, very quickly fixed the Antonio missing from my team and captained him, which kind of made sense with the transfer in mind. Took Mahrez out for Rafinha, gave Barnes the extra game. To be fair, it wouldn't have mattered because none of them did well, but I'm happy with Antonio's returns. And then now I've got just one transfer and I want to make about 8 of them. So yeah, we'll get onto that in a bit.
That was funny with Antonio, because obviously last week with Sophie, we were recording during the West Ham game. And I remember saying to you that Antonio will punish you next weekend. And the funny thing about that was about 20 minutes after we stopped recording, he punished you
this weekend.
Evening.
Yeah. No, I've been punished with him every week. Someone messaged me saying, are you sure that he won't go off and play international and not play game week 5? And I just replied, I don't care as long as the beatings stop.
Well, apparently he's all right. He's only traveling to
home game.
There was a country he could have traveled to that he's not. So
yeah,
unless he does something to his hamstring.
To be fair, with the transfers that I made, I was very sure that the Premier League weren't going to sort it so that their best interests were at heart, because they are one of the biggest leagues. It can be very difficult for them to lose players like that. So yeah, so Antonio in, Rafinha in. I'm happy with them going forward. I'm not too bothered. But the big things are then now obviously Barnes, Ings. I've still got Simicast sitting there with his 4.1. The points wasn't the greatest. The rank isn't the greatest now. All my punts didn't work out. Barnes, Mahrez, not having Antonio. So I'm just going to have to sort them out. The only thing that I did right was start with Benrahma, but now everyone's got him, so he doesn't really help. And he didn't help at all last game week. But I'm happy to keep him. And yeah, that's my team. Let's move on to
You're
yours.
doing, you're doing all right, mate. I think it's just going to be. I guess we'll cover this at the end of the show. Is what you do next. You know, whether you wildcard or what you do with the one transfer. But you made the right transfers this week.
Yeah, the decision making was spot on.
I wouldn't go that far, but it was adequate. Like
it was okay. Right, let's move on to your team there.
Yeah. So I ended up doing a -4, and I did say I didn't want to lose Tony and I didn't want to lose Gundogan for that game week, but I ended up removing them because I'd removed Mahrez, and all to get Lukaku. It was either Lukaku or Kane. So I sold Mahrez, who got an assist off the bench. Now I sold him because I thought he wouldn't play. Gundogan, Emma projected him to play, and I think all the reasons you said as well, Ash. You know, it did look likely he was going to play. I didn't want to lose him, but I'd already lost money on him, and I think he's dropped again since. So Gundogan went. He obviously got 9 points, and then I got Lukaku in, who blanked. He was looking very, very good, and Chelsea were looking very, very good until there was that red card for Reece James, and then at that point I knew Lukaku wasn't gonna return. So I bought in Rafinha, Lukaku, and Gilmore, who I benched. So it cost me 17 points, including the -4.
That's really interesting because we did have a question on the Slack channel from the Hitman who asked, over how many weeks should you evaluate if a hit is worth it? Because if you lose 17 points, for example, in the first week of the move, is that bad?
So it's bad. Do you know, I've had a lot of time to think about this, and I am annoyed. 17 points it's a lot of points. But I didn't want to keep Mahrez, and he was benched, so good riddance. Gundogan, I should have kept him, but I didn't. And Tony, he eventually returned. Like, one good thing I've got, and I guess we'll get it later in the show, is I've got Lukaku now. I think my team still looks really good, and I think I am. Despite being 17 points behind the template, I think I have a team that people want to set up in that structure. So I've got 3 premiums already. Maybe they're not the right premiums. Like I've got Bruno as one of them, but I'm pretty happy with my structure. I feel like I'm ahead on that, even if it's cost me 17 points.
Yeah, it means you don't have to wildcard, basically. Or if you do wildcard, then it would be like a waste of last week. I can
keep my wildcard. I mean, honestly, I'd rather have the 17 points and have to do a hit or two, obviously.
Yeah.
But I can justify to myself why I did it. So.
Fair play. What a great question, Hitman. Very, very, very on the nose.
Yeah, thank you. Also, you cut the Hitman off the other week. He asked a question in the chat and you just went blah, blah, blah. So I don't know why he's having a go at me and not you. But.
Because I do that with everything. When it's trailing on for a bit, I'm like, oh, this, that, and blah, blah, blah. Basically, the question is this. And then we get to the question. My overall rank, for people who are asking, is like 750 or something, 750k.
Yeah, and mine's dropped from 200k to 500k. And if I hadn't done that, if I'd fell asleep for a week, I'd be up with you, Ash. I think I'd be about 80k or something.
Ash, where are you at just now?
Very close, like 500, I think, 500k.
Myself, sorry.
Yeah.
79k at the moment, but right now the tiers are really volatile. Like, a few points here and there, a hit here and there is going to really affect your rank. So, even a top 2 million rank, you could argue, is really good at the moment.
It's absolutely solid.
Yeah, and as the template emerges, and as we get a better idea of the form players, then no doubt, you'll see a bigger difference in the tier points. But for now, it's really fluid. A captain fell here and there. A wrong, like for myself, I mentioned Gundogan. I was so close to getting Greenwood in my game week 1 team. I was absolutely certain of it, but then I had 2 concerns, and those concerns were that I've got no City cover. Gundogan be viable for the time being, but also I saw a stat, and I really wish I didn't see this stat, which basically showed Greenwood playing in the down the middle as opposed to on the flank. He scored far less goals in a centre forward position. So I thought, if he's going to be playing as a centre forward and he's not scoring goals, that'll be problematic for me. And then, Cavani will be back soon, and Ronaldo is now here. Then there's ultimately just it didn't. I just felt that he might be at risk of rotation, but obviously that it hasn't worked that way. And I've probably, if I had Greenwood over Gundogan in my game week 1 team, I would have probably been even higher, like top 10k even. But Like I said, it's early days. No, what we shouldn't even look at the green arrows, red arrows at this stage.
Yeah.
It's just about planning your team, being happy with it, and making sure you're happy with where you want to be really going forward.
With so few people, haven't been doing many transfers, and I think it's almost become like zombie teams, as in people have set up a team in game week 1, and it's almost been the same team that's carried us through 3 game weeks. So it's very hard to get a team like that, absolutely spot on. And obviously, if I hadn't touched my team, I'd be doing better as well. So it's hard, but like you say, it's going to get very interesting now because we've got a lot of stuff that's going to change the template. So we're going to move into the headlines. I just want to say, obviously, if you want to support us on Patreon, you could Google FPL Surgery Patreon or go to patreon.com/FPL Surgery. And me and Dave, we did a Patreon pod the other day. We'll be doing another one soon. But let's get into headlines because, there's some big stuff here. So the first headline, we've simply titled it Ronaldo.
I put Ronaldo as back just to make it a
Dave's
bit more.
put Ronaldo as back because he's, I don't know. He likes using longer words than me.
Oh, forgot to move the thing. Sorry, I'm still working out on the kinks. Continue.
That's all right. But Ash, Ronaldo, is he someone that you're tempted by?
Absolutely. Who wouldn't be? He's like in terms of his pedigree in the Premier League and on the continent, it's proven. Like he's an out and out goal scorer. Price tag is 12.5 million. Sadly, it is what it is. We wouldn't. They've probably got it right. As much as I hate them for pricing him at 12.5. Like for me, like when I at the point when I had the 2 free transfers for game week 3, that was when there was Ronaldo being linked with Man City, and obviously he went to United. How I see it, if there's a strong chance of him starting in game week 4, right, and there's no fitness issues, it kind of makes sense to get him in early, try him out, and even captain him against Newcastle. It does make sense. But then people will say, what about Lukaku? He's against Aston Villa, and Martinez won't be available for that game. He's red flag basically because of his international commitment. So there's that on the radar as well. But with Ronaldo, like initially, I won't lie to you. Like when United signed him, it was like, well, got 2 free transfers, Ings out, Bruno out, Ronaldo in, Torres in, job done. Like I was absolutely set on that.
Yeah, that seems really, really popular, doesn't it? I think I've seen like 80 tweets since Ronaldo was announced. The exact same thing.
But then you see the timeline also filled with doubt as well. People saying, oh, is he going to train on time? Is he going to start that first game? Because it would be really gutting if he's not had enough training and he's heavily captained in game week 4 and he doesn't start and he gets like a cameo appearance. So obviously you don't want that either. But yeah, right now I've dampened and calmed down my expectations of him. But look, if he's fit, if he's going to start regularly, he's going to score goals, week in, week out, get assists week in, week out. He's not gone to United to warm the bench for, Lingard or James is on his way now, but he's there because he's still got plenty to offer. And if I'm not mistaken, is it a 2-year contract at United?
Yeah, I think it's a 2-year contract that he signed.
And he's 36 years old, and if he's going to be there for 2 seasons, you'd think he's really going to give it his all. And there's so much history that he could write for United.
Yeah,
they can win some major honours with him there, and he's got a limited amount of time to do that. I've got no doubt that Ole's going to manage his minutes in the Premier League and in the other competitions. There'll be matches where he'll miss out altogether. United have got so many attackers right now. In some ways, it didn't make sense for them to sign Ronaldo at this very time, right? It just didn't, with all the attacking options that they have. But at the same time, he's going to be their talisman. He's going to be their go-to player, and he will be their match winner. So you'll need to have a really come game week 4. Let's say you didn't buy him. He comes in, scores a goal, gets double-digit ball. They're not going to buy him game week 5. That bandwagon will go through the roof. So it's a tough one. Like, I've got some caveats, but yes, I'm seriously interested in buying him with my 2 free transfers, and I can do it without even activating a wild card. So yeah, that's where I'm at the moment on Ronaldo.
Do you know what? I was really, really excited about Ronaldo. Well, I was excited about 2 things. Obviously, when I got Lukaku last week, I had this plan where I could get Ronaldo in or Kane in. So if Kane went to City or if Ronaldo went to City, I had these plans, to get them in. And only for a -4 this week as well. And I think then it's sunk in since that, he signed for, I almost don't want to say it because I don't want to upset Man United fans. And I think Ronaldo's amazing.
Yeah.
He's not signed for City, he's signed for Man United. And I think that does impact on him slightly. I still think he's a brilliant asset, but I don't want to be using my wild card or doing massive hits to get him in. Because I feel like if you're wild carding, for example, this week, and you didn't bring any Chelsea players in, you've then got 3 transfers to get those Chelsea players in for their good fixture run. And that's why, not just because I've got Lukaku.
Yes, it absolutely is.
I prefer Lukaku.
Oh, it absolutely is. I was waiting for it.
If I was wildcarding now, I would go Lukaku or both. I wouldn't go Ronaldo without Lukaku. Because if you were wildcarding now, and I'm probably jumping ahead, but you're going to have 3 transfers to get 3 Chelsea players in between game week 4 and game week 7. That's all of your transfers. So you wouldn't have...
You don't need 3.
If you want to triple up, because people are talking about tripling up in game week 7.
Aye, but but I feel like, okay, so you get a defender, you've got Lukaku, and then you've got to pick one of the midfielders. You're probably going to get Havertz, but you don't need to get them right away, especially if you do have Lukaku.
Well, you would, because if you want 3 for game week 7, you'll only get 3 transfers between your wild card and game week 7. So you would have to use all 3 transfers, all your transfers up to October.
No, it's interesting, but it's hilarious that you've gotten Lukaku. No, I know, but you're saying like, oh no, but you have to get them. This is specifically for people who want 3 Chelsea players for game week 7, and I'm saying you could have 2 for game week 8. Like it's not a huge deal, especially if you've got Ronaldo and Lukaku. But I actually do really like that. So one of the points that you made was you would want both or just Lukaku. The interesting thing about it is most people are going to get rid of Bruno to get Cristiano Ronaldo, which is absolutely fine. Totally understand that. We all know that Cristiano Ronaldo plays with Bruno in international games and is the penalty taker. So there's no arguments there. But the thing that I was noticing was next week, you could captain Salah against Leeds, or you could captain a Manchester United asset against who are they playing? Newcastle at home, right? So what I was thinking was if you did get rid of Bruno for Ronaldo, you would want to captain him, but then what if he doesn't play? So you might want to just captain Salah and vice captain Ronaldo, but the problem with that is like you've just taken a hit for him potentially, or you've just wildcarded for him, and that's a bit of an annoyance. So I really like the idea, if I was going to wildcard, to try and get Lukaku and Ronaldo and just captain Lukaku, because that saves everything. Yeah,
I've got like a get out clause for those people who aren't going to activate their wildcard, but they want to try out Ronaldo. So you can get Ronaldo at 12.5 million. Let's say game week 4, game week 5, game week 6, it becomes apparent that he's not playing full matches. He hasn't got the fantasy returns. Come game week 7, Ronaldo out, Lukaku in, save £1 million, bump up one of your defenders for a Chelsea defender as well, later down the line. So I kind of feel that is my get out clause, that I'm not like, oh, it's all or nothing with Ronaldo. It's, if I get him, I'll give him a chance for 3 game weeks. I'll most likely captain him against Newcastle. Caveat, if he's fit and if he's likely to start. But if I'm not satisfied with how he's done over the subsequent 3 game weeks, then Lukaku is my player that can come in. And then if you're on a wild card, just to add to that, try and fit in Lukaku and Ronaldo. But it's almost like there's 2 things there. There's a fear of missing out on Ronaldo and him hauling against Newcastle United, but there's also the fear of him, not getting many minutes and him blanking. That's also a reality as well.
Is he just this is for a question for everyone to go away, because I don't know the answer, but I would have loved to know the answer. I did check it just there, but I couldn't find it. Is Ronaldo injured and so therefore not being called up for Portugal against, is it Ireland?
He's in Portugal.
So-
But he's only played like 30. So since the Euros, he's only played 30 minutes of football, which was a sub appearance in Serie A the other day.
So, but
He's not injured.
So he's not injured. Okay, cool. Because I know he had something going on with his arm. So does that mean that if he plays like 90 minutes against international against Ireland, I think it is, does that mean that we're all just in a consensus that he probably will start then for Man United? Because that means
I haven't got as much worry about his minutes as you do, Ash. I mean, obviously he's a very good player. I'm being very careful, a lot more careful about what I say than normal. So I don't upset people about Ronaldo. It's not the minutes for me. I think I'm just thinking if I wildcarded, I think I'd have to go for both and not just one. Because Ash, you said, I mean, if Ronaldo's playing poorly, then you could swap him to Lukaku.
Yes.
I guess, and it's not a bad thing to happen. What if Ronaldo's incredible and Lukaku's incredible? Obviously, you're then going to get both, but you're going to end up doing a hit quite shortly after a wild card.
You say that, but then I've got this other option that, if I'm not mistaken, game week 7 comes after the second international break. Is that right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, game week 7 to 8. Yeah.
And also then game week 11, it comes after the November international break. So basically, you're right. If it becomes apparent that, wow, Ronaldo's doing well, Lukaku's doing well, I can activate the wild card during the second international break so that I've got Lukaku and Ronaldo come game week 7. So that's another option for me. And if there's a lot of uncertainty with how one or the other are doing come game week 7, then I'm happy to wait a bit more and then wait until game week 11 after the November international break to activate my wild card then. But then you also look at the fixture difficulty ratings. They change quite a lot between game week 7 to game week 11. I worked on something last night, actually. Just let me just bring it up. So like United and West Ham in particular, they've got some tricky games during that period. And on top of that, they've got like European football as well. So I'm kind of like segueing from the Ronaldo chat, but like cool. There's players I've got in my team right now that I'll most likely not have during that period as well. So yeah, game week 7, I could easily wildcard them both in. So that, that's like another get out option for me.
Yeah, just for anyone wondering, West Ham game week 7 is Brentford, then Everton away, Tottenham at home, Aston Villa away, and Liverpool at home. That takes you up to 11. And what was the other one? Man United. Man United are bottom on the fixture ticker
and they'll have Europe by that point as well.
They'll have Europe and Man United, Everton, Leicester, Liverpool, Tottenham, Man City, an absolute howler of a run for Man United.
Just going back to Man United quickly, Bruno Fernandes. Now, he's been one where obviously I had a bad season last year. I needed to convince him to get him game week 1 this year. Does selling him not worry you as well? Because I see a lot of people, I've not seen many people considering going for Ronaldo or Bruno Fernandes. Now, obviously, there's a big assumption that Ronaldo's going to be on penalties like he is for Portugal ahead of Bruno. So would selling Bruno to get Ronaldo, would that not worry you at all, Ash?
It would, absolutely. Like, a lot of people are under this false premise that, Bruno's going to play second fiddle to Ronaldo. Ronaldo's the king and, Bruno will always defer to him. So long as Bruno has a ownership of like more than 40%, that is, he's a serious concern if I don't have him. So if I was to sell him, right, it would be, I wouldn't like happily sell him. Like on the one hand, like some people are saying, he'll become the assister's assist in that United team if Ronaldo fits in there. Would I have both of them? I can't right now, but it wouldn't make sense. You'd have to have one or the other. And I think what would happen is if Ronaldo hits the ground running, his ownership is going to skyrocket and Bruno's is going to plummet. So based on that assumption, right, I would feel more confident not having Bruno if Ronaldo hits the ground running. But if he doesn't hit the ground running and Bruno actually carries on with his returns, then it will be seriously problematic. But you look at Bruno's ownership like now, take a look at it now and take a look at it in like 8-9 days time. It will drop substantially. It will drop.
Currently,
there was a big selling.
Currently 53.7 is his ownership right now. as of this very second.
Still massive,
8 minutes, 7 minutes past 8.
I guess the captaincy on him might start dropping as well. So when it comes to EO as well, you'd expect him to not be as high. Just my experience with not having Bruno last season, though. I mean, it was not nice. I mean, obviously, I think 9 of his 18 goals were penalties.
You're gonna have that exact same feeling with Cristiano Ronaldo, and you're gonna say next season, not going for Cristiano Ronaldo was not nice.
I think the thing with Ronaldo is if Ronaldo starts strongly.
Oh, he's gonna be 13 million.
Yeah, I'm gonna be straight on Ronaldo.
We have like Man United tax, right? Like Man United tax in regards to their price rise going, like, you have never seen a Man United player who's going to go up as fast as this. This is going to be the fastest player to reach 13 million ever.
Yeah, we're going to have like a sliding doors moment, guys, that if Ronaldo starts against Newcastle, he bangs in a hat-trick, right? That sliding doors moment of Bruno's ownership dropping and Ronaldo passing him would happen almost immediately, in terms of It's just going to happen. But that's I'm making a big assumption. That's if Ronaldo hits the ground running, gets like at least 1 or 2 fantasy returns, and Bruno blanks again. But I think a lot of people have been disheartened that Bruno got a hat trick first game of the season, and then he got 1 point back to back. So they're kind of like they've forgotten that this guy returns regularly since he joined the Premier League in the start of January of the previous year. So this he's not someone like you could just sell him off the cuff. Yes, if the penalties go like initially, so I know one thing that happened, the penalty changes that they made at the start of the season, some people were like, Man United won't get any penalties anymore, so we're not going to get Bruno. And then what happens, he bangs in a hat trick without any penalties. So he can score goals without penalties as well, even if Ronaldo takes the penalties.
I feel for people who didn't start with Bruno. Yeah. Then he scored an open play hat trick. Then they've jumped on him, and now Ronaldo's signed, and they're thinking like, do I get rid of him again?
Oh, that's
you
funny.
mentioned sliding doors moments, but I mean, there could be a sliding door moment where Bruno scores a hat trick from open play again, Ronaldo blanks, and a lot of casual managers in your mini league start shooting above you.
Go back, yeah. Potentially. So on the screen just now, just for people listening, we have Ronaldo as predicted top projected points for game week 4 at 7.7. Then Salah at 7, then Bruno at 6.9, then Kane at 6.7.
That Fantasy Football Hub's prediction model, yeah. So he's top.
Links in the description. So we've got a very clear winner in regards to who to captain if you do own all of these players. We probably won't. Interestingly enough, though, based on the fact that everyone wants to get rid of Bruno and not Salah, just while we're on that, affording Ronaldo, is there anyone other than Torres that we're even thinking about just before we move on? Because it seems like a certain we'll just downgrade Bruno. Hey, Torres is doing really well. But is that the only option? Ash, go for it.
Yeah, I was going to say that, for me, some people are saying, if I haven't got Bruno, I'll sell Bruno. I'll get in Ronaldo and Greenwood.
Okay.
Which will cover not having Bruno, but obviously, and I think that's also an option as well. But yeah, I mean, Torres. Look, City have been very clear in their statement so far that they're not going to sign a striker at the last minute, and we're hoping that even pre-season, Pep hinted that Torres will be expected to play a key role of sorts this season as well. Mm-hmm. So, with Torres, obviously, he's got Jesus in the team as well, and that could affect his minutes. But they've happily shared the pitch at the same time as well. So it would be Torres, but even Torres is a bit of a punt in all honesty in terms of his minutes. They could be managed, but beyond that, it's quite difficult based on form.
Yeah, a lot of people who don't have Tsimikas started with Jota, but anyone who did start with Tsimikas, what about, that's going to be really difficult to bring Jota in, as if anyone doesn't know, Firmino is probably injured. Rubber Ducky in the chat giving us an update, injured at 3 good fixtures potentially. So is that also an option for you?
Yeah, definitely. Jota would be an option if Firmino is confirmed out for a few weeks. Definitely an option, without a shadow of a doubt. But then when Firmino comes back, it might go back to the old days of Jota starting, but then getting subbed off after the hour mark. But he is an option, without a shadow of a doubt. If you've got rid of Tsimikas, like I have, I could definitely bring him in as an alternative. Greenwood, but I think in my case, I probably wouldn't be able to afford both Greenwood and Jota, I think, based on their price. But yeah, he is an option, without a shadow of a doubt. That's a good shout.
Yeah. I can't think of any more. What about you, Rich?
I mean, I was just, obviously, from my point of view, I've just come off 2 City midfielders, so I have no interest in going back there. I got them for the Norwich game. Yeah. Then the worst happened against Arsenal. So I'm not interested in Man City players. If Torres continues to start up front and he goes up to 7.5, he'll still be incredible value then. So I'm not fussed about that. I'm just staying away from Man City. I mean, obviously Jota's. I mean, he's always a great option. But I'm very, very happy at the moment. I've got Rafinha. I know he's not got the best fixture this week, but after that Liverpool game, it's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, Ben Rama, I've got some value tied up in him. Love him. Brilliant player. He's blanked once, and there's obviously people panicking already, but yeah, I'm happy with them too.
I'm sure we're gonna get. Oh, sorry, go for it.
One more name I forgot. I should have mentioned this. Looking at Wolves' XG stats, a bit of a differential. Who am I going to say? Adama Traore. I think he's one definitely on the watch list. Obviously he's not. Wolves have not got the end product as of yet, but takes one goal and he could really get going. So that's more of a differential contrarian pick, but he's definitely one to put on the watch list as well.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, definitely. Those Wolves fixtures look good. And Trincao, he's putting up some pretty good numbers as well. If you want to be even more Maverick, I suppose.
Oh, I can't do it. I had Traore last season. I feel so. I mean, to be fair, he wasn't playing on the left, ducking in and shooting a lot. I'm just very happy that he hasn't all of a sudden became an option. If he had scored 2 goals or something last game, then he would already be up in price. So I'm grateful for that. But yeah, so we're gonna make a wild card. When we come back from the piss break, we're gonna go through all the positions. We're gonna figure out all the options, and it's gonna be awesome. So we'll see you guys after the piss break. Bam. And that's us on the piss break. So for anyone watching in the chat, what we're going to do is actually go for a piss break. Probably not going to spend as much time as last time, but this is a chance for you guys to ask our guest anything FPL hints. Ash is a really nice guy and he knows his shit. So if you have any questions, get on that. Rich, do you actually need to go? Are you going to stay here?
I need to quickly run and get a drink, but I was just going to say, we also have a second headline.
Oh yeah, that's true. What is it? When the best time to wildcard?
Yeah. Yeah, we sort of covered it anyway.
To be fair, it's kind of both. It's when to make a wild card. All right, we can come back and talk about that. It's not a huge deal. 44 minutes on the old first headline. So
right. I'm gonna get a drink really quick.
Go. I'll do the read questions. Ash, are you happy for me to just chuck questions at you from the chat?
Yeah, chuck away, and I'll answer in just quick fire answers. Happy to do that.
I go for it. First off, I wanted to go right back up the top because Rich, who we had on the podcast 2 weeks ago, said something hilarious, which was, Chief looks just like his profile pic. Amazing. I thought that was really funny. Which you do, you really do.
Thank you. Hey, that's the camera never lies, as they say.
All right, let me have a look at the chat. I've just noticed I didn't do the screens for this. Oh well. Information before using the wildcard is crucial. The more the better, says FPL SWAT. Hey man, how's it going? Nice to see you in here. Where was Trent? Do you think Trent is worth getting rid of, or do you think he is worth keeping? Who was it was Adamadi Chenoir. I don't know how you pronounce your name, sorry dude. Guys, is not having Trent criminal?
Wow. Look, we know that Trent had a bit of a problematic patch for a large part of last season, but he ended it brilliantly. Mm-hmm. By it doesn't matter if you play. You could say he's fixture proof based on his attacking and also, playing with Liverpool's defence, without a shadow of a doubt.
Oh, you're cutting out a little bit, Mike.
I see no reason to, good run of games. Guys.
Ash, we can't really hear you, mate.
Kind of. I'm glad this happened on the piss break, though. This is good.
Can you say something, Ash?
Hello?
Oh, I think you're completely gone.
Ash!
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
You're back. That was good.
I'm back. Hello. Sorry
You sound a
about
bit clearer.
Wow, that sounds good.
Perfect. Yeah, look, there's no reason to sell Trent, to be honest with you. If you want to unlock funds, try and sell other players. Yeah, he's really a must-have for me, unless he gets injured, got a tricky run of games, maybe. But yeah, I wouldn't sell him at all for the time being.
I like it. Next question was, would any of you captain a premium if you knew they were only making a second half cameo?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
No. I mean, in the case of Ronaldo, especially, if there was strong hints that he'll start from the bench or he won't play at all, there's no point in captaining him. Yeah, I mean, what's the point? Obviously, there are some premiums who can chip in with a goal or an assist even with 10 minutes, on the field, but no way. Just doesn't make sense. You want your premiums, anyone you captain, you'd want to hope that they start the whole game without a shadow of a doubt.
I agree. And do you know what really annoys me with players? When you have a player, like I had it with Jota a couple of times. Obviously, it happened with Mahrez as well. It kind of annoys me losing those, say they're a midfielder and you don't get the extra couple of points for the clean sheet and for playing more than 60 minutes.
Yeah.
That always annoys me a little bit, probably more than it should annoy me. And even though people say, that there's more goals in like the last 15 minutes of the game than there are in the first 15 minutes of the game. So the player's more likely to score. But ultimately, if someone's playing 90 minutes, they've got more potential to score than someone playing just because they're playing late in the game. So, yeah, I'd use that as a reason not to captain a player if I knew they were only going to cameo in the second half.
100%. Last question before we get back into it, because I know we are doing
we don't want Ash's battery to die.
Oh, yeah, I know. I do need water. Right, okay. I'm going to quickly get water because you just came back, and I'll ask this question when I come back. We'll start. So the question is, are you guys considering, or is it a good option? So Rubber Ducky's asking, Lukaku game week 4, Ronaldo game week 5. Is that an option to do? So you could bring Lukaku in, find out what the information is with Ronaldo, and then swap them. Right, BRB, you guys talk about that.
The problem with that, I don't know if you agree, Ash, is obviously you'd go for Lukaku, and then if he plays well, would you want to swap him to Ronaldo? And then you'd probably want to go back to Lukaku, like we've mentioned for game week 7. So it seems like a lot of transfers that you're potentially booking in.
Yeah, that's it. Like this hop-on strategy. I see where people are coming from. With there is logic behind it, but then, like you've said, your player that you've got might bang in a hat trick. Lukaku against Aston Villa. It's like, do I really want to tell him? He might be starting like a streak of goals from this point onwards. So that's the downfall of it. And also with me in particular, booking in transfers, I'm just not a fan of that at all anymore. Because you might have other issues that you need to address. Like, I'd only want to make a transfer unless I absolutely have to. I want to trust my team, not for one, all of my players. If I start them, I'd hope that they have a shelf life beyond one game. And I know in this case, obviously, Lukaku and Ronaldo would have more than one game week, but I see the logic behind it. But I personally wouldn't want to do it for one game week. No,
I completely agree. I was going to say something about Lukaku again, but I think we're going to save that for. I'm sure Lukaku's going to get mentioned in the second half.
All right, let's do it. I'm ready to go if you are.
Yep.
So I'm going to swap it, and then you're just going to go.
Welcome back. And so we've actually got two headlines left. Now we've touched on the second one pretty like in quite a bit of detail already. So it's when to wildcard. So I guess if we just all give our thoughts, just summed up on when to wildcard, and then we'll move on to our third headline. So Ash, when are you looking to wildcard?
Yeah, so from my side, I want to hold on to my wildcard for as long as possible. So I'm hoping that with the transfers that I do, I can stick to what I perceive to be a template team, but there's potentially 2 windows in which I would look to wildcard, and that will be during the 2nd international break or the 3rd international break in November. So I'm hoping if I can maintain my rank, hang about, I'd want to wait until those 2 windows. However, if it all goes horribly wrong with my transfers in the next 2 to 3 game weeks, then I'd hop in game week 7 when the fixture turnaround comes again. So that's how I see it, in all honesty. And if I'm lucky and I don't need to wildcard in those windows, then I'll hold on to it as late as possible and then use it just before the deadline expires. But generally, it'll be 2nd or 3rd international break. I can't see how I do it beyond those, in all honesty.
Yeah.
Of course. And what about yourself, Dave?
I don't think I can say anything different. I mean, my problem with the whole thing is that any advice that I'm going to give is based on my team. And I love the fact that earlier on you're giving it, but like we asked you about it and you say Lukaku's your favorite, even though for a long time you've been blaming me for asking questions specifically about my team. And then every time we ask you about it. But for me, yeah, I don't know. I can't stop thinking about like trying to get on this wild card and what I would do and how I would go for it. But yeah, I kind of want to just get into it and start building this.
Just to get back on that, why would I get Lukaku and then say I prefer Ronaldo?
No, because you got him before you knew Ronaldo was coming in.
Yeah.
And I'd have got Lukaku. If I was on wildcard, we're going to get more into this in a bit anyway, but I mean, you saying Antonio, you weren't going to get Antonio, and then you were WhatsApping me at midnight after the last show, like, oh, hi, Rich, shall I get Antonio?
At the end of the show that I'm probably going to have to get Antonio now. And then he scored 2 goals. No, I think it's funny and that's a good point actually to me, because that anytime any of us answer questions, it's going to be based on our point of view, and our point of view is always coming from the way our team works. Like, for example, you said that you didn't want to get Gundo or Torres back because you just got rid of 2 Man City midfielders, whereas if you were on wildcard it would be a different story. But the fact that you've got Lukaku and you've got your setup and you've got your 3 premiums, you don't really need to think about wildcarding. It's very interesting to point out.
If to put it, so I'm not just talking about my team then. If I had my team or Ash's team, I wouldn't even be considering wildcarding. If I had your team, I'll be hitting the wildcard button. But we can get
and that's so bad because I really want to just leave it. And I tweeted earlier saying that if we start talking about it seriously, then I'm gonna want to do it even more. And then I seen the schedule and I was like, oh, we're definitely gonna be talking about it.
I actually wanted to. I've just realised there was a question why I even put this as a headline, because Tom from Fantasy Football Fix has said this is going to be a Southgate love fest, isn't it? I mean, it's not, but because I'm not allowed to talk about Southgate too much. But he's also asked, do you have any set rules for when you wildcard? A certain number of players unavailable / out of favour, for example, or do you just know?
Yeah, I think my problem with the whole thing is that I've always tried to like stick to algorithms and stick to plan stuff in my head. And then when we talk to a bunch of really, really good managers, Ash had already mentioned that when you're looking at top consistent 10K finished managers, they've all said pretty much the same thing, which is I don't go in thinking about when I'm going to do it. I just use it as like if I need it, I'll do it. And if the time's right. So it's hard for me to be like, oh yeah, no, you guys should absolutely do game week 4 or 7 or pick a date, because to be honest, like right now my team looks like it needs it, but we wouldn't have known that game week 1 because me and Rich's team were very, very similar. We just had like a few players different. He had Gundo, and Antonio, and I didn't, right? So that was the only differences. Oh, don't you start. But and now we're completely different, and I'm thinking about wildcard and he isn't. So for me, if the perfect time would be when you have loads of transfers that you really want to make, there's loads of price rises happening, there's a premium that has been added that you really want, and your team seems like it's stagnated in that you don't really have many differentials there because anyone that you did have, everyone's bought them in anyway. So that seems like the best time to do it.
And there's one maxim that I'd like to just reiterate, and it's like, keep it, not keep it simple, stupid. That's another one. But it's this, that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So don't just wildcard because Ronaldo's in the game, I want to get him in.
Yeah.
You know, if you're someone who likes to gravitate towards a template and your team's relatively, template right now, you haven't got any injury issues and red flags, you've literally got no reason to wildcard. But at the same time, when those problems do crop up, the fixture turnarounds come, there are issues with players, it becomes obvious when you need to. And the reason I mentioned the international break windows, like you've said, there isn't a set time to do it. Generally, more often than not, I've done it during the international windows, so I've got time to think about what I want to do. That's when I've usually done it. But yeah, if you don't need to, don't do it. But if you feel that you're going to add value to your team by wildcarding and getting maybe 6 or 7 new players, makes perfect sense. So that's my take on it.
I'd feel so much better about if I potentially wildcarding if we'd had a few more answers to a few more questions. Like, for example, the goalkeeper. Normally we got someone like De Gea or Pope, or we had Henderson. Obviously, Martinez standing out. I still don't feel we know who the best goalkeeper is, unless it's actually Lloris. But then he's obviously 5.6 million now. And I like spending a lot less on a keeper. I just feel like all these little things that help on a wildcard. If you can get the perfect keeper in, you've got the perfect 4th and 5th defender. I know they're not the most glamorous things, but that's the kind of stuff I want to try and get right.
Rich, you're right. It's all about marginal gains, right? At this time of the season, those marginal games, those 2 points here and there, will be the difference between some managers finishing in the top 100k and finishing in the top 1 million, right? So, having that mindset right now, it makes perfect sense. And it's like, Spurs have kept those clean sheets. They're the informed defensive team without a shadow of a doubt right now. But are they going to maintain that run? And people will say, you know what? I'm going to take a punt on a Spurs defender, but I'm going to buy the cheapest one available. That way I've cut my losses and, so be it. I can do that. Or I'll buy the cheapest one and I'll rotate with someone else within that, 4.5 price range. So this is really the time to map out what they could potentially do. And of course, we're all in the dark about that. But Martinez last season was a perfect example of that breakout goalkeeper who managed to consistently return. So, maybe Spurs are that team, maybe they're not, but this is a time to really keep an eye on those sorts of assets.
Yeah, Martinez was kind enough last season in Game Week 2 to save a penalty to really announce his signing to Villa with that. I think it was a 15-pointer or something. But,
I didn't have him then.
No, but I mean, it was just, it's just thinking, because like you say, marginal gains, if we can find the best goalkeeper, over the next couple of weeks, that until we wildcard again in maybe Game Week 30, that could gain us 20, 30 points over our rivals, which, it does add up a lot. But I guess we should get onto our third headline so we can go through as many questions as we can, because we've got a lot of questions as well. So what we're going to do for this is basically, the three of us, we're going to build a wildcard team. So 15 players. If we were wildcarding, now we're using Dave's account. So
sure,
he's got 100.3 million in the bank. I'm sure some people might have a little bit more. Some might have a little bit less.
Yep.
So should we start with goalkeeper? So, Ash, obviously a lot of people have got Sanchez. I think all three of us have got Sanchez.
Yes.
Is there anyone that you'd go for over him if you were on wildcard?
Wolves have got goalkeeper. So Sanchez I know is 4.5, but what about Sarr? I think that he's got more of longevity in terms of his fixture run from game week 4 up until game week 14. So I know he's 5 million, but if I was on a wild card, I'd seriously consider him. And what do you think, guys?
One thing I'd say on that is he's more money, isn't he? I think he's 5 million.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think something people have to bear in mind, if they're wildcarding now, it's going to be to probably, Ben Crellin will know this, but I'm assuming it's going to be the late 20s, early 30s when we wildcard again.
Yeah.
Attention.
So, and I hate making goalkeeping transfers. So I think if I was wildcarding now, I'd still go for a 4.5, but I can see the appeal.
And also, if you're going to get a Wolves guy in, I would probably just pick one of their 4.5, save that 0.5 million, right? Because then that means that you've got that defender in. Does he do a lot of save points, though? I haven't even looked into it.
So with Sarr, if I'm not mistaken, I saw him chipping with a few saves. Well, 11 saves over 3 games. So, but you've made a good point there. We're really trying to watch our money, and if we can get Connor Cody for 4.5 million, get Connor Cody. I would actually probably Sarr just stood out as a goalkeeper.
No,
But
it's a great shout.
Yeah,
They
so
did
we
get
could
a
do
couple
that. So
saves.
we could do Sanchez, and then we could do a Wolves defender.
yes,
Is
And
Sanchez still the best?
I mean, you've got Cody, haven't you? And he's probably the safest one, even though obviously he's on England duty at the moment.
yeah. So with Connor Cody, like he hasn't, he's a regular starter for Wolves, and if you are going to bench him, you've got the peace of mind that he hasn't really got an attacking threat. I think he's barely had a shot on goal in the Premier League, since ever. So yeah, I think safe pair of hands, 4.5. You'd get him as like cheapest chips option.
Do you know what he actually had a shot, because I've been keeping an eye on him myself, and he actually had a shot the other day. Ever since he scored for England, he's been going up occasionally for set pieces. I did see he had a shot on, was it Sunday, wasn't it, when they played? So he does have that. I know Marcel, a lot of people are saying him, but he might not be as nailed as Cody. Cody's pretty set and safe.
Connor Cody minutes, right? Last 3 seasons, if I'm not mistaken, he's had like 10,000 minutes played in the Premier League. So he's basically playing almost every single minute of the Premier League in that period. So, if you want a safe option for until your next wildcard, he has to be in there, as a safe, just get him in without a doubt. Just for that,
I agree.
And then a bench option.
Are we thinking, just to go back to goalkeepers, that Bachmann was a poor choice? Like, what people must be thinking that went with him over? Because he made 7 saves against Tottenham
in the Tottenham game,
and then he made 1 in the other 2. Is that
personally? I'd still
choice?
go Sanchez, just because that
Brighton.
Brighton.
See anyone else?
You're looking at the long term, though, aren't you? With that, so I'd go Sanchez because it's a better defensive team.
Right. Let's just put Sanchez in so we can move on. I'm also going to keep Gunnarsson because he is the best 4.0 now that he is buggered off. So he literally can't move down in price. Thumbs up.
Yeah. What about Steele? As like in the event that Sanchez got injured, would you not consider having Steele, or is there a risk that you might want to triple up on Brighton at some point?
Yeah, it happened last year. I wildcarded game week 3 because Martinez looked really good and a bunch of other people looked good. So I brought Martinez in game week 3 and I brought in his partner in crime 4.0, whoever it was. And then, Watkins started doing well. Grealish started doing well, and I could only pick one of them and missed out on loads of Watkins stuff because I just refused to get rid of my second keeper. So I'm not doing that again. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad idea,
I don't think he's the backup for the long term because they signed that Sherpen from Ajax.
He's 4.5.
He's injured at the moment, and there's a lot of good Brighton players I like. I can actually see me wanting to triple up. I mean, I've already got 2, and I keep looking at getting a third. Players like Duffy, Webster, Sanchez.
You're right. Maybe there is a risk that we might want to triple up at some point, and let's just hope that he doesn't get injured then between now and the second wildcard.
All right,
fingers crossed.
I've added Cody already, as you guys can see. So we've got Sanchez and we've got Cody, and I was gonna say that also just for cheapness, just while we're here, we'll just put Livramento in right away because I'm assuming that he's the cheapest,
go for
bestest.
that. Yeah, then we could talk more about the exciting players. It's interesting because we had a question from FPL Zero blog, basically asking about Trent. Now it was a he wrote a lot of stuff about Harvey Elliott hugging the wing and Trent cutting inside, and Trent did look very advanced in that Chelsea game, albeit against 10 men. So would either of you make an argument to not get Trent?
No,
I think we should keep Trent.
Look, with his set piece ability, his roaming up the pitch, clean sheets for Liverpool, for hopefully more often than not, you've got to keep Trent.
He's also got great fixtures. It's not like he's coming up against. We looked at Man United's fixtures. Liverpool have got 3 decent fixtures, and then they've got bad, good, bad, good, bad, good until they hit Arsenal game week 12, and then they're back to having decent fixtures again. Like, I think Liverpool are one of the teams that have the least amount of bad fixtures in a row.
Yes,
they're very, very roller coaster.
So we're not selling Trent. We're not selling Trent. We're keeping Trent. I'm glad we're all in agreement there. And I almost feel like you could play, if you want to play like a 4-4-2, he's almost works out like a midfielder, doesn't he? As in he's better value than all the 7.5 or less midfielders.
I think we're gonna have to make the decision a bit later on whether we get rid of him so that we can afford 3 premiums. maybe even 4 if we try hard enough. Ailing is next on the chopping block on my team. I think Ailing's great price. You'll probably use him a lot after game week 4.
Yes.
Decent fixtures.
Yeah, I agree. Chuck Ailing in. And then our 5th.
So this
we
is
leave the 5th defender and see how much money we got at the end.
But it is Shaw, because that's where everyone's got, right?
People are going to be coming off Shaw soon, although he's great.
He is one of those.
But let's see how much money we got. We've got to talk, because we've got to talk about the premiums, haven't we? So
right, go for it.
I mean, Salah, I can't put an argument against Salah at the moment. He's the premium mid.
Yep.
I agree.
Okay.
Benrahma, we sticking with him? Because this is on our wildcard, remember? I could cut and run with this money, or we could keep him and hope that, Antonio doesn't die before.
Let's keep him and get a 4.5 midfielder instead. Just assuming that Benrahma minutes will get managed, European games, as good as he's been. Like, if it's the difference between selling Benrahma and getting an additional premium midfielder, let's get Bissouma or who else? Who's it? Allen for Everton, or someone like that.
I've picked the perfect one. Don't you worry about it. Gilmore's already there, mate.
Yeah, Gilmore's on corners.
I'm doing that just because he's Scottish. I think Alan's probably a better choice based on how he's been doing. But shout out to, who was it? Stag that was shouting about Alan. Poor Stag this week. Anyway,
so I'm going to say something. So I already mentioned it earlier, but if you're wildcarding this week, you need to have some Chelsea players, because when it gets to game week 7, you're not going to have a wildcard to bring them in,
or at least have price points for them.
But then it goes back to the thing, you're going to have to use all your transfers on Chelsea players. So you're wildcarding with transfers booked in.
But I don't care about that. It's a really fun thing to say, but I just I don't mind not getting them in for exactly game week 7. If I had said, right, I'm going to keep Shaw until game week 7, and then he'll go to Azpilicueta or James or whoever I decide, and I'm happy with that as a price point for that. That's one transfer. If I bring Lukaku in, if I have Lukaku in here, if we were to decide that, then that's 2.
Or we could have a defender.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I don't think I want Havertz or anything. Would you?
I mean, Ash, would you want, if you were wildcarding now, would you go for any Chelsea?
The only Chelsea person I'd get right now would be Lukaku on a wildcard right now. The thing with Chelsea is that, obviously, high chance of clean sheets, especially from game week 7 onwards. But I feel that, in terms of their players, the pricing is a bit problematic. I think, is it Christensen who's been playing regularly? He's 5 million.
It's a 5, yeah.
But the problem with Tuchel is he does rotate a fair bit as well. People don't realise how often he does it. Look at last season. He's rotating the goalkeepers at some points as well.
That was amazing.
Yeah, that was it's a weird season for goalkeepers.
Yeah, to be fair, if I had Kepa, I'd be rotating them.
So should we try? So we'll try. I mean, Dave's put it on screen already, but if we try for Lukaku, Ronaldo, and Salah and see how we get on.
So we've got 24 million, roughly. Your mileage may vary.
With this, I don't think it's going to be easy to get Antonio in, but we could try. Because if you had Lukaku, Ronaldo, and Antonio, that's. Right. I think we'd have to get rid of Benrahma though.
Let's get rid of him.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Okay, I'm gonna add Jota just as a placeholder for that sort of price range, and then we've got 8.7 million to spend or thereabouts. So you could do that. We could do another 4 at the back. And another 4.5, but it just means we're playing.
This is where I think you need to start looking at a 4-3-3.
Yeah.
To make it affordable. So obviously in the back line at the moment we've got Cody, Eiling, Trent, Livramento. If we put in I know Ash, you've got Ben White, but what about a Brighton defender? What if we put Duffy in, for example?
Yeah, we get some extra savings there as well. But then we've got the double up with Sanchez and Duffy, though, haven't we?
I feel like we probably wouldn't. We'd be picking between Livramento and Duffy every week, right?
There'd be some kind of rotation. How much money would we have for the last midfielder?
4.6. So we might have to get rid of. If we go Jota down to Torres, then we would have 5.1. If I put How much is who was the guy for Everton that's
Yeah,
doing
I'd
really
have
well?
Rafinha if I was on Wildcard.
Rafinha. Well,
Yep.
then we're gonna have to get rid of somebody.
Hold on, I'm looking at a 5 million defensive bracket, and don't seem to be many options there.
Who's the guy in Everton that's looking really good? Is it Gray? It's Gray, isn't it? He's
Oh,
only
Damari.
he's only 5.6, so we'd have to lose a 5 million somewhere.
So how much money have we got here? Sorry, I can't see the budget.
Oh, my bad.
0.5.
You know what? See if we took Torres down to Rafinha, we could afford all of this.
Let's do it.
Boom.
So you'd be playing a choice between. So first up, Lukaku, Antonio, Ronaldo. That is a sick. That is the best forwards ever. You're missing out on DCL, but I feel like I don't think you'll care that much, to be honest. Benrahma's doing bits. Gray looks good as an enabling cost. You've got Salah in there, and Rafinha's got good fixtures after week 4, like we talked about. All the defense is there. I think the thing with this would be who your rotation.
Should we read it out quickly just for people listening? So it's got
Okay,
Sanchez in goal, Cody, Eiling, Trent, Livramento, and Duffy. We've got Benrahma, Gray, Salah, Rafinha, and Gilmore. Then the dream front line of Lukaku, Antonio, Ronaldo, with 0.1 in the bank. Now, I think what I'd do is I wouldn't feel confident playing Damari Gray every week. I'd probably put him down to someone like Brownhill. Then I'd upgrade and get a Chelsea defender in. So we've got 2 Chelsea players. That's how I'd wildcard it.
This would only cost me 24 points.
I mean, this isn't your team. This is our team. So you can't just steal it.
I'm just
me and
saying.
Ash contribute here.
All right, I'll give you a point each.
But no, I thought that was quite a good exercise. So it does actually show if you're willing to go without Bruno.
Yeah.
There's a lot of options around, and I just think the thing I said about Gray, you know my thoughts on Chelsea players. We better get into the questions because we're not going to have that much time. But
yeah,
I thought that was a good exercise. I mean, Ash, would this tempt you to wildcard?
It looks quite interesting, but I'm going to hold my horses and not. It's interesting that you don't need to make that many moves and you can get those players in. But as I wouldn't wildcard due to the reasons I've mentioned, but it's tempting without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, I can see looking at your team and then looking at this team. There's not like an incredible amount different. Like we said, you've still got similar defenders. Like you've already got Cody. It's the same goalie. I think I'd feel the same. The only benefit of me wildcarding now is I'd have Ronaldo, but then I'd lose Bruno.
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't feel there's enough tidying up. But if we go through a couple of questions, then we still got time to just quickly, run through our potential transfers for the week.
Yeah, go for it.
So we got a question from M Bison. I don't think we're going to be able to get through all of these, but we'll go for it. So M Bison has asked, how do you stop making mistakes and improve your decision making in FPL? And he's also asked if Magnus Carlsen's right, is Bruno dead as an FPL asset? So Ash, what do you think? I mean, how do you stop making mistakes and improve your decision making?
Well, you look
in 3 words or less, Ash. Thanks. No, I'm joking.
One thing I would say, you have a look at where you're going wrong first and foremost, and if you're where do you want to be as an FPL manager? If you want to be a top 1 million manager, top 100k manager, then plod along as you are. But if you want to improve, look at the managers who consistently do good, read their success stories, read their testimonials, and take lessons from them. Because I'll tell you what, there is a serious pattern that I've seen with how the top 10k managers do. So learn from them. That's all I can say on that. The ones who consistently finish in the top 10k.
Yeah, totally agree. Just pick someone who you really like, who does really well, and then copy them. Not their team. I just mean in their decision making.
Just copy their teams.
Just copy.
What's going to be interesting about this season compared to last season is obviously last season people could just sit on Bruno, Salah, Son, and Kane.
Yes.
And you're doing incredibly. But this season, I feel like it's going to be so different because we've got these other options. Unless like Ronaldo and Lukaku just do horrendously, there could be a little bit more jumping around, and maybe we're just not as used to that anymore. Maybe that's the thing we got to get used to. I mean, obviously, I tried it last week and I cost myself 17 points.
You're not used to it yet, buddy. Don't put yourself down like that.
just warming up,
warming those
limbering up
premiums
for the crazy season.
On Bruno, I think it's a bit harsh to say that that Bruno's like dead in the water. I think he's still viable, but like shouldn't be complacent and rule him out just because Ronaldo's there. Even though we're gonna probably buy Ronaldo at some point. So yeah, I mean, I think just let's not underestimate Bruno without a shadow of a doubt.
So it's a funny one with Bruno because I feel like I'm almost defending him by saying I might keep him, but I think he just feels like he's not a problem, but I also know he's not going to be someone that I'm going to consistently keep for the whole season like people did last year.
Yeah.
But we've got a question from FPL Bez. So FPL Bez is asking which teams have impressed you the most so far. So should we start with you again, Ash? Is there a certain team that's really impressed you, surprised you?
I think the one team that has really caught my eye, especially, has been Wolves. Surprisingly, I know that. Hold on, but look where they're at in the table. But in terms of, again, I'm not an XG advocate, but I've been very impressed with their XG stats over the first 3 games, and also look, new manager, and like with new managers, especially to the Premier League, there's also a question of them adapting, and will things go wrong, etc. But I feel that considering their tough opening games, they've done remarkably well, and these games that they've got now from game week 4 onwards will tell us a lot about how this Wolves team will do under the new manager. So they've impressed me a lot, and I'm hoping that they'll progress once the fixture run improves rapidly from game week 4. How about you guys?
I was going to say Wolves as well. I was really surprised with Wolves, and that's why I'm going to be. Maybe it's why I've been a little bit down on Man United just since the weekend, because either Wolves looked incredible or United were just very poor, or a combination of the two. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's definitely been Wolves. I don't know if you've got a different one, Dave.
No, I mean, Wolves have looked good. You know who really is impressing me? Now, at first, you're going to be like, whoa, but and it's Arsenal.
Chelsea.
No, I was going to...
Oh. Did you say Arsenal?
Yeah, I was just joking. No, they've looked trash.
Don't say that, mate. I've really annoyed Man United fans, and now you're... Yeah.
Mate,
there won't be many
people
left.
Do it alphabetically. Arsenal are rubbish.
Yeah.
Who's next? Brentford.
If I was going to go for a different one, actually, it would be Chelsea. I thought Chelsea, until that red card, looked incredible against Liverpool.
Yeah.
They look so good. I thought they could have put them away.
Now. But you're right, Chelsea. Chelsea have good, but Newcastle have looked pretty decent. Like they don't usually look great, but there's. I know maybe not this game week, but Newcastle.
Southampton's XG.
No, I'm not talking about their defense, of course, but I just mean like St. Maximin has really came out the gate running this season, right? He looks decent, and Wilson's always good. Yeah.
But as a team, you watch that second half of West Ham, truly shambolic.
Yeah.
I don't know. You're right. There are players who've individually done quite well, but as a team, they're in the league where they are because of how they've played collectively. And there's been a few glimmers here and there, but it's not been good enough. And look in the League Cup, how we, the shambolic exit there as well.
Yeah, I guess it's probably just me thinking about St. Maximin, but I expected them to be even worse. So maybe they're just defying my own expectations. I just felt bad there. I needed to say an actual answer other than Arsenal.
I thought yeah. let's move on. But St. Maximin is excited to watch. He is an exciting player to watch.
100%.
So next question, we got one from Jimbo Byrne saying that Saka has dropped in price from 6.5 to 6.3, but Arsenal have a great looking run. Would you stick or twist? Jimbo saying that it's an easy switch for him to Benrahma, Fornals, or even Gray. So Ash, if you had Saka, considering they've got a pretty good fixture run, what would you be doing there?
Would you sack Saka?
Would I sack him?
Yeah,
it's a tough one. Like, obviously, he chipped in with a fair amount of returns last season. I'd probably hold if you've got him. I know he's had the price drops. Probably hold him for a couple more games, and if he hasn't returned, then make a sideways move elsewhere. But yeah, I wouldn't have even had Saka in the first place.
The answer is, as per usual, go back in time, slap yourself.
He's so frustrating to. He's so frustrating to own because, I mean, I remember having him last year and he'd get dropped a lot. I mean, this season, looking at his minutes, the most minutes he's played in a week is 60.
Wow.
You know,
He's
so
a
he's not
a
getting the
talented
minutes, but he does have the fixtures. Yeah, there's
very talented player, very talented player. There's no European football for Arsenal this season. I expect him to do great things, and keep him maybe keep him. But the minutes is a problem. If he's not playing full matches, then you'd have to consider a sideways move.
Yeah, I would also say that you're going to have to put up with him dropping in price maybe one more time, so that
Yes.
the vast majority of people who are getting rid of him do get rid of him. But it's kind of like the similar thing with a lot of people in Barnes. Like, they've got Norwich next. Surely this is going to be a turnaround game for them. If they don't win against Norwich, then their season is doomed, and the players are already hating being there. So yeah, I can see I would probably keep him as well for one more game. And if he doesn't do anything but Arsenal look good, then we can reevaluate. If Arsenal look as pants as they have been, then yeah, I would just change him to grey, cut your losses, save the 0.8 million or whatever, and use it elsewhere. Better.
The thing with him though is I don't think his upside's actually that high. Like, obviously an advantage of Saka over previous seasons is like 2 years ago he's 4.5. But he's not the most attacking player in the world. I know he looked incredible for England, for example.
Yeah, he was the same price as Rafinha. Like, that's hard to fathom, right?
Well, yeah, that's a great comparison. And then I mean, obviously Rafinha is probably levels above when it comes to underlying stats, etc.
Yeah.
We're gonna go. So we've got a 3-part question from Ryan, and this is gonna have to be our final question. But thank you everyone for the questions. So Ryan, Fantasy Yema, has a 3-parter. So who would win in a 5K race between him, Ash, and Dave?
So I see Mr. Yema. Shout out to him. He's my virtual running buddy, and because of him, I've set some amazing running milestones. So I want to just give him a shout out there. And the answer is, if he's fully fit, he isn't red flagged, he would beat me in a 5K race. As for Dave, I know Dave, you've made some tremendous progress as well.
Thank you very much.
But I don't know what your PBs are at the moment, so I think it would be I'd probably let Ryan win, and then I'd probably let you win as well.
No, I knew where that was going. You don't have to be nice. No, I would absolutely school both of you. My parents. So I've been running recently, just 5Ks. So I haven't really ran anything other than that. But I got it down from, I was furloughed for 12 months or something. No, 15 months, and I did nothing. And then a couple of months ago, I was like, I should probably get off this chair, and started running. So it went from 33-minute 5K to, I think I just hit 25 minutes, or just about hitting 25 minutes. So I've shaved quite a lot off, but I'm in nowhere near my
peak.
10K
time?
No, I know exactly. Exactly. It was horrible. And it's not even because I can't do it.
I was joking, by the way.
It's just the stamina, like sitting on your ass for 15 months. It does bad things to you. I wouldn't recommend it. But yeah, no, I didn't know that you guys were running buddies. That's really cute.
Yeah, it's like I've literally been running consistently now for 12 months, and I had a milestone to hit 1,000 kilometers within a 12-month period, which I hit yesterday actually.
Oh, wow.
So now I'll put my feet back up and not run for the next 12 months, hopefully.
Yeah, you've done it. You can do it. That's what happens with me. I'll hit like a milestone, and I'll be like, oh, that's me done this game or this exercise or whatever, and I'll never go back to it. It's such a bad habit to have. The next part of Ryan's question, which I think is much better, is who would win in a fight between me, Ash, and Dave? Now, I don't know what he looks like or how big he is, but I'm a very lanky yet skinny individual, and I can't really fight.
You're surprisingly tall, though.
Yeah,
People think you're not tall.
I do a lot of headbutting, but apart from that, I don't really. Are you a big scrapper, Ash?
Well, this is it. Like physically, like from a stature point of view, I know from the BMI side of things, like me and Ryan are very similar. So, I think he's probably more athletic than I am.
Yeah, I'll give this one to Ryan.
Yeah, I'd kind of wish that someone would tag team and then beat the other guy up. I honestly don't know. Unless I see in the flesh, Dave, it's a question mark for me.
To be fair, what we could do now is we could team up without telling him, and we'll pretend fight, and it'll be like a 3-way fight, and then I'll go for his legs and you go for his face, and then we'll beat him that way, and we can split the winnings. I agree.
And get Rich in to whack a chair on him from the back.
Give him the chair. The last part of his thing says, is Flapjack susceptible to race fight fixing if he's appointed referee for the above? Because Ash is likely to try offering a cash bribe.
I would honestly, I would accept anything. Like even if it's like a quid, I'll take a quid, and yeah.
I'll give you £2 if you bash him with a chair.
I think any fighting or racing or anything, I just prefer like FPL points. It's just easier.
Oh, you're so obsessed.
I'm sure we can get swayed with some Reading memorabilia as well, Rich.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I know. You were showing me those programs earlier.
So just for anyone that doesn't know, a bit of a breaking news bit. I've attended more Premier League matches for Reading than I have for any other Premier League club in my life, which is a bit random because Reading aren't in the Premier League anymore. And
right.
I was actually located quite closely to our friend Rich there as well, oddly enough. So I may have very well bumped into him back in the day. So just some news. So I'm not a Reading fan. I'm not going to go into the details, but yeah, I've been to every single Reading match during the 07-08 season.
That's so weird. That's such a weird thing.
That's so
to
cool.
have in your...
I had to pay to be there.
I got paid to be there.
I should have been doing that. But...
I would need to be paid to be there too. I think you made the right choice.
I don't think we'll ever see Reading in the Premier League again. We might see them in League One. That seems more likely at the moment.
You might see all your players in the Premier League though. I seem to be buying quite a lot of players from
Reading. They go to
Reddit.
Palace or Bayern Munich, so you might be seeing Reading players in the Champions League. But
there you go. Captain's transfers.
Yeah, let's go on to our captains and transfers. So, Ash, let's start with you. Oh, and thank you everyone for the questions. I wish we could have got through more. They were good, weren't they?
What we'll be doing is we'll take the questions that we missed and we'll be doing them on the Patreon question and answer thing. So if you're interested in shooting us another question, because there's loads of questions we get every week we can't do, but we sit and do them all in the Patreon thing. So how about we look at that? If you want, description in the description, link in the description even. Ash, team.
Yes.
What are you up to this week?
Yeah, so right now, subject to caveats and transfer news and press conferences, Ings and the problem, I've got Martinez in my team as well. That's another problem. So it'll be a mini wildcard. Martinez out, Bruno out possibly, and Ings possibly out. And in their place, it'll probably be Ronaldo. It'll be Torres maybe, and then a goalkeeper. I don't know. I'm looking at Pickford or Sarr. If I want to double up with Wolves potentially, but yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now. But it's just too early to say at the moment. But yeah,
interesting. So you're not adverse to going for a 5 million keeper, obviously, with Martinez sitting there, and you're happy to spend the same amount of money back on him. Yeah.
Exactly. My logic with Martinez was that if he had a good run of games and I needed to get him, and if I didn't have him, it'll be harder for me to get him. Like it's harder to get a more expensive keeper if you've got a cheaper one, right? So I thought, if he doesn't do well or there's some issue with him after game week 3, I can downsize. So I prepared for that eventuality. And yeah, sure, he shouldn't. There's a rule that he shouldn't take a hit for a goalkeeper. But if it's a mini wild card and I'm going to buy a goalkeeper for the long run, I'm not too bothered really. So
you've got a pretty good excuse in that he's not going to be playing.
Exactly, and he's got a tough run of games, even if he was playing. So. I'm quite relaxed about that, but yeah, that's what I'm looking at, mini wildcard.
And you're 80k. Like, I'm pretty sure you can do what you want. I have a question about your team. I think
it's quite nice that that's happened with Martinez. I mean, obviously, you'd probably rather he played, but you can't really get stung from your transfer with something like that.
Yes. Like, I've literally got like a clean slate on the goalkeeper front now. Yeah. And it comes back with getting a penalty save and all sorts from game week 5 onwards. But yeah, the downside is it's a hit, but then -4 divide 3 players, it's peanuts in the long run. So all good.
Well, unless you do what I did.
You've got Bruno, Captain, Salah, Vice, which is clearly the only premiums we've got in this team. So absolutely fine with me. Decent fixtures for both of them. Obviously Newcastle better. If you get Ronaldo, you captain him, or are you worried about it?
You'd have to captain Ronaldo. If you're buying Ronaldo, you have to captain him.
So you'll be captaining him. If I come back to your team in game week 4 and you've got Ronaldo, he'll be your captain.
Yes. I wouldn't buy Ronaldo if I wasn't captaining him against Newcastle. But then the caveat, if I'd look at his minutes during the international break, I'll look at the training regime he's been on and the press conference hints as well from Ole before game week 4. But yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, anyone who's listening to this, anyone who's buying Ronaldo, if you're going to buy him and you expect him to start, which is why you're going to buy him, you would captain him.
Yeah,
it'll be. Obviously, there are other good options: Lukaku, Mohamed Salah, and other premiums who are also making sense. But surely, if you've got Ronaldo, you have to captain him. Like, not every game, but just for the first game against Newcastle, especially.
I feel like another argument against getting Ronaldo is the fact that there's so many other good captains this week. Because sometimes you'll get, like, if Man United were playing Newcastle at home and there weren't Lukaku with a good fixture, Salah with a pretty good fixture, then you'd feel like, oh, I need to have Ronaldo to captain him. But it doesn't quite feel like that. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if Salah outscored Ronaldo.
Yeah, I would be
Maybe
shocked.
I'm just telling myself that because I can't.
You've got Lukaku.
Maybe won't have him.
That's hilarious. I'm very, very jealous of this team because you could even, if you wanted to, downgrade Martinez, downgrade Bruno, and upgrade Ings, and you would have enough money for Jota, and you don't have the third Liverpool player, so you can do that easily. For if Firmino comes out saying he's too injured to play for a month, then that would be a very interesting option as well. Someone in the chat, Kenneth, who is loving your ideas because he's done the similar transfers that you're talking about, minus a goalkeeper. So yeah, I'm excited for this team. Oh, I was going to ask, last but not least is, but while the DJ is fixing his lights, Rafinha is playing against Liverpool, and I'm sure we all have Rafinha. You have, a decent bench option in White. Are you thinking about benching Rafinha at all?
It's a tough one because, with Arsenal and Norwich right now, they're level pegging in terms of where they are in the Premier League. For me, I hate benching attacking players. Yeah. So right now, Ben White is my sub 1. Mm-hmm. So my gut feeling says do not bench Rafinha, but then obviously, Leeds are at home. They're playing Liverpool even though it's at home. Yeah. So, but the instinct says don't bench Rafinha. Really.
Fair play. All right. Okay. So we move on to my team real quick. Not much happening. If I do make transfers, I'm probably not going to get any big people in, like Ronaldo or Lukaku or anything. I'm happy to just do Ings to DCL and Barnes down to someone. I don't think I can afford Ings to Ronaldo and Barnes down. If I could, that would be amazing, but I don't think the math quite checks out. He's just been priced too high for me. But I also have... I've got Webster. I don't really need to worry about Veltman or anything like that. So I'm happy to bench Ayling from Leeds, but I can't physically bench Rafinha. So that's why I was asking you. When you said don't fix what isn't broke, Ings is technically not broke, but he is breaking. So do you think that the DCL upgrade is better? See, the only thing with the DCL one is that eventually he will then turn into Ronaldo. So it might be a kind of, what would I say, a plaster over my team.
Is he not injured at the moment? I saw some news that he's been...
I think that's just an England thing, right? Like the
precautionary withdrawal, it's probably that then.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be a huge issue. If it is, then obviously I'm not going to do... These are transfers I don't really need to do right away anyway. But yeah, if he's injured, I won't do it.
I saw they're signing Rondon as well, Everton. But I doubt that's got anything to do with it. That's probably a Benitez thing.
Wow.
All right.
I'd say, Dave, if you're going to go for like Ings to Bamford or Calvert-Lewin or whatever, like you say, it's a short-term fix. You still haven't got to a premium that you probably want to get to.
But I probably won't. If I do that, then it's probably like telling myself I won't be doing it until game week 7, in which case I'll be wildcarding. So this is me making the definitive decision to not go for Lukaku or Cristiano Ronaldo until game week 7, come hell or high water.
Yeah. I think I was harsh earlier when I said I would wildcard. Well, I just think when we were talking about, number of problems, I just think Ings, Barnes, You've still got Simicast, as do I.
Yeah.
It's
No
that many,
cool,
but
awesome new premium. It's not
it's-
too bad
it's-
if I don't want Ronaldo, but
I think I'd sort Barnes out. You could probably leave Ings, although Ings isn't going to score against
I'm
Chelsea.
gonna see how much money because
Are
I've
you
got
definitely
a
not
million.
wildcarding?
Well,
I think
that's the
yours is
thing. I don't know if I'm
borderline,
definitely.
mate.
Who have I got? I have 3.8 million in the bank if I was going to do Ings up to Ronaldo. That's so sad.
Oh no.
I know. No. Oh well. Okay.
What, for the Barnes replacement?
Yeah, 3.8 million for Barnes replacement. So
Oh,
I guess I could.
3.8.
Yeah, I would need to like downgrade. I don't
Yeah,
know.
then you start looking at -8s and stuff. I don't think it's worth it.
You don't want to go that far.
You could afford Lukaku.
Ooh, mate, could I?
This is where Dave changes his tune. Like the whole pod will be like, "Oh, Rich is going on about Lukaku." Which, like last week,
but I
he's
could
going on
afford
about
him.
Antonio a lot.
You know what?
And
I
then
hate that
suddenly-
idea.
Huh?
I hate that idea, and I'll tell you for why. I'll tell you for why. Is because I would have a 4.5 striker and a 4.5 midfielder, and my bench has got Ayling versus Liverpool. Simicast who doesn't play, so I would need to play Ayling.
Yeah, you'd need to sort your defenders out.
So
really.
it's not worth it to not wildcard. So if I'm getting a Lukaku or a Ronaldo, it'll be a wildcard, and if not, then not. Let's move on. We've spent way too much time on my team. Rich, who you captaining, buddy?
So I've got my team set up already. So I'm still on this 4-4-2.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, doing a 4-4-2, I've got Trent Shaw, and then I was going to rotate Ayling Webster and my Simicast replacement. So Ayling Webster and White rotate really well, but I'm now looking at Cody. So I might do Simicast to Cody. And then obviously I've got my 3 premium. So I've already got Salah, Bruno, and Lukaku. So I'll captain. It's Lukaku or Salah, and most likely it's going to be Lukaku. I did have a way I could get Ronaldo in, but I'm 0.1 short thanks to Gundogan and his price drop. So I could have done Bruno down to a 4.5, and then I could do Scarlett up to Ronaldo, but I'm 0.1 short. That would give me Lukaku, Antonio, Ronaldo up front. I'll still have Salah, Trent, and Shaw.
You would have our wildcard team, pretty much.
What was that, Ash? Sorry?
Would you say you're 50-50 between Lukaku and Salah as your captain, or are you more favoured towards Lukaku right now?
Yeah, I'm probably like 70%, 75% to Lukaku, just because of Martinez. If Martinez is going to miss that game, he's the thing that really changed the defence last year.
Massively. Like, yeah. I feel that for me, it's a no-brainer that if someone's got Lukaku in their team, they don't have Ronaldo, and sure, you've got Mohamed Salah as well. Just surely it makes sense to captain him, and they're at home as well, if I'm not mistaken. So the Champions League will kick off from the week after, I guess, from the internationals, but it just makes sense. Like I'd be more like Leeds. People are just writing them off. The second season syndrome, Liverpool walk all over them. But Leeds can be tricky on their day as well. And it just logically, if Villa didn't have their goalkeeper, if they did have their goalkeeper, I'd say okay, it's a bit more closer. But yeah, that 70-30 in my view is probably 80-20 between them. But I don't influence or sway you.
No, I appreciate it, Ash, because I am leaning that way.
You have more of a chance of swaying me.
That actually scares me a little bit is obviously I had an awful season last season. I've just come off the back of that horrible game week, and it just feels like every time I go for a captain who to me seems quite obvious, like I could have gone for Kane last week, but didn't, and I feel really bad for people who got a Kane 1-pointer as captain because he did look like the best captain. I just would hate for that to happen now with Lukaku. But that's not logical, is it? Just because he's lowly owned and not many people have Lukaku.
Yeah, but you've not captained Benrahma this season, right? And that was like a monumental pick. I remember.
Yeah, he outscored Bruno.
Yeah, he did. But in all seriousness, like with Lukaku, right? Like you could really, catch up on ground if what's his ownership right now?
21.5, 21.4 even.
Yeah. So among the premiums, he's like a differential in some ways for the premiums. That is.
Yeah, for sure.
Put the captaincy on him, you could make up some serious, rank positions there. Again, I don't influence that. I don't want to oversway it, but there's an opportunity there. That's all I'll say.
No, it's nice hearing you say it, and because I have strongly been considering it, but obviously, like I said, Kane last week looked like that, and then he didn't do it, and also with my transfer, obviously, if I do Simicast to Cody, then I don't have to play Ailing in my back four. And obviously, Wolves have got the good upcoming fixtures. So I would like my 4-4-2 team for next week as well. And actually, Ash, I've just remembered that, you mentioned the Ben Rama captain. I've just realised why you brought it up. It was because of that head-to-head league, wasn't there?
Yes, I want to bring this up, actually.
Sorry.
No, you don't apologise, because your captaincy was so inspiring, right? That I was in a head-to-head league at the end of for last season, and that captaincy was so out of the box, right? That in the head-to-head league, it beat me by 1 point, and it was a difference between me finishing first and fourth. So I always look at that. But no, don't say sorry. Like,
Rich was last.
Ben Rama, that was the first time I'd seen anyone pick Ben Rama in their FPL teams, and you captained him. And ever since then, I was like, he almost became like, what's what I'm looking for?
Nemesis.
He just nemesis, but I have to embrace him now. So the first moment I had to get him this season, the opportunity arose. Like, I have to get him, and he repaid me in game week 1 and game week 2. So don't say sorry. Thank you for those points in game week 1 and game week 2 for bringing him to my attention. So yeah, all
I feel
good.
better now. So it's evened itself out a little bit.
No, it has most definitely.
You guys are cute. Look at you guys coming together, joining the forces.
I just completely forgot, because I honestly, I felt bad at the time, because obviously I didn't really need it. I wasn't going to win the league, and then obviously it cost Ash top of the league. All my lights are turning off now.
Time to go. Your lights are going to sleep, and so are we.
I need to put 10p in the meter.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us for number 223 of FPL Surgery. If you haven't subscribed already to our YouTube channel, we would very much appreciate it. If you're interested in our Patreon stuff, there's a link in the description. You can have a look at that. And Ash, thank you so much for coming on, buddy. We truly, truly appreciate it. We've had a lot of fun tonight. Thank you so much. Is there anything you want to plug before we go?
Well, first and foremost, it's a privilege to be on your show once again. I'm so glad that the battery stood the test of time this time around. All I want to say is, well, I'll give an exclusive right now. I'm pleased to announce that the second edition of the FPLHints magazine will be released during this international break. It's a free magazine by fans, for fans. Keep a lookout for it in hopefully the next week and a half. And also FPLHints Live, obviously not during the international break, but every night before a game week, I'll be on Twitter where I live, and come and have a chat with us. We've got a great bunch of people there. It doesn't matter if you've got, a small following, a big following. I'm just there to have a chat, really, and looking forward to engaging with people through spaces. So yeah, just wanted to mention that. And apart from that, thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I thoroughly recommend both the magazine and the spaces. The spaces are they're so much fun. I know, Dave, you've not been in any yet, but you need to.
Not yet. I haven't been invited yet. I'm just waiting.
Well, you just join.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm playing hard to get. But yeah, no, I will do. It looks like a lot of fun from the background, just in the crowd, waiting for people to invite me. Anyway, Rich, end the show.
Yeah, no, thanks everyone for joining us. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll be back next week. I assume it's going to be on Monday. We need to plan this better, because I messaged Ashley the other day asking him to come on, and I didn't even realize it was bank holiday. So me and Dave need to get our calendars together.
Next week is the special one. If you don't know, and we don't actually really know many details that we're allowed to give out yet.
What's this?
But there's potentially going to be a special episode at some point. We're going to be streaming potentially for, the international break, because there's not much to talk about after this. We'll maybe do a wee stream closer to the deadline talking about FPL, but keep your eyes peeled for some special fun shenanigans happening into the international break on this channel. And without further ado, without anything else to say, Rich,
up the pod.
Ash,
up the pod.
Yes, up the pod, guys. See you next time. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.